Hello, good evening, and welcome to this next step in St. Mark's Passion account, which is the crowning with thorns. Pilate has washed his hands of Jesus, handed him over to be crucified. 1516 we're at. The soldiers led him away to the inner part of the palace, that is the praetorium, and called the whole cohort together. They dressed him up in purple, twisted some thorns into a crown and put it on him. And they began saluting him, "Hail, King of the Jews!" They struck his head with a reed and spat on him, and they went down on their knees to do him homage. And when they had finished making fun of him, they took off the purple and dressed him in his own clothes. Bizarre, this passage, really bizarre, because has all good discipline broken down amongst the Roman soldiers stationed in Pilate's palace. In the praetorium, the very heart of Roman government, you have the cohort, the squad, the regiment, but it's obviously much more than what we think of as a regiment. We have 100 soldiers, or 60 soldiers, gathering together and participating in the ritual mocking and humiliation and torture, mental torture, I think we'd call it, of a condemned man. He's already been scourged. They dress him up in purple, perhaps the red cloak of a Roman soldier, crown him with thorns, spit on him, hit him with a reed, go down on their knees before him in mockery, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews." Why? Why would the Roman soldiers want to do this? Why would anybody want to do this? It's really very difficult from our comfortable perspective here to understand the depth of human cruelty that is seen in this passage. And yet, you know, what I think of immediately is how this has been played out, this scene has been played out again and again and again in our own time, in the 20th century and 21st century. Think of those pictures of Abu Ghraib, the prison in Baghdad, where Iraqi prisoners were subjected to this sort of humiliation, this sort of stripping and mocking and so on and so forth. And then the Americans, soldiers who were doing this to them, who were perfectly respectable people, I'm sure, in daily life, even took photographs of it so they could have souvenirs. Astonishing. And these Roman soldiers, too, they're just Italian farm boys, aren't they, who've been drafted into the Roman army, yet they behave like this? Why is it? I think it's partly the madness of crowds, which we've already seen in this passion narrative, but there's also go back to the Holocaust, and that also comes to mind. People being subjected to horrible tortures in the Holocaust, being subjected to people tormenting Jews, and this is before the Holocaust proper began, forcing Jews to scrub the streets with acid and go down on their knees in pavement, spitting at old men, spitting at women, kicking people, and so on. The terrible pogroms and the persecutions of the Jews long before the Holocaust was actually planned. The Kristallnacht, people being thrown out of windows and so on. The madness of crowds. I think this is also an example of the othering of Jesus. He is the other. We will reduce him to nothing. He is our enemy. This is happening to somebody else. It's not happening to us. As long as it's happening to him, it won't happen to us. A very, very strange sort of logic, which of course is also found in, if you remember it, that wonderful book 1984, that as long as the torture going on in the Ministry of Truth is happening to somebody else, it won't happen to me. So don't do it to me, do it to her or do it to him. The other thing is these soldiers are acclaiming Christ as a king. And they are doing something more truthful than they realize. They're crowning him with thorns, and they're claiming him as a king, and he is a king. He is a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief, a king who is crowned with thorns. His kingship is a kingship of suffering and a kingship of love. And as our king, he is humble. He takes the last place. His kingship is a kingship of service. Everybody who's ever wanted to be in first place, everybody who's ever wanted to exercise power over other people needs to read this passage and follow Jesus Christ. Take the last place. He, the King of love, my shepherd is. Remember, the ancient kings of old were shepherds of their people. That's said of the Egyptian pharaohs, but it's also said of King David. Jesus, our shepherd, is the king of love. And of course, once more, he keeps up his silence. He is tormented and he is silent. He does not reproach them or rebuke them because he is full of love for his tormentors. Well, let's leave it there. We'll carry on again. See you again soon. Happy Laetare Sunday tomorrow. Bye.